Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Official Jets podcast. Eric Allen here at One Jets Drive. If you are listening, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you're watching there on YouTube, we appreciate you, but smash that like while you're there. The Jets selected 7 players during the 2024 NFL Draft, with the headliner being Penn State tackle Olu Fashanu. The Jets actually moved back one spot in a trade with the Vikings, were able to grab one of the most talented tackles in an elite class, acquiring additional assets in the move as Minnesota landed Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy. Fashanu will begin his career, of course, on a rebuilt offensive line as Jets GM Joe Douglas began the offseason with the free agent signings of John Simpson and Tyron Smith. And he also traded to bring back Morgan Moses from Baltimore. It's a great situation for Fashanu, as he's going to learn from a guy who used to study in Tyron Smith. We caught up with Olu on draft weekend, but before that, we wanted to start the pod with Olu Fashanu's college coach, Penn State's James Franklin. James, thank you so much for being with us today. I want to start with a quote that you posted on social media after Olu was drafted by the Jets. You are an incredible young man and football player. We couldn't be happier for you and your family. Your love for the game, dedication, and hard work will continue to stand out in your professional career. What does he symbolize to your program?
Well, to me, he's the model Penn State football player. You know, this guy could have left last year as probably a first-round draft choice from all the reports that I got. Decided to come back to school to be an All-American, to compete for a championship, to graduate. You know, he had the highest GPA in one of the best schools in the country, our business school. Had like a 3.7 GPA. Just wanted to do everything right. He's really, I think, one of these guys that literally whatever he wanted to do, he could be successful in, whether that is business, whether that is football. He's just that type of guy. Tremendous leader, tremendous family. You guys are going to love him on the field because there's no doubt in my mind he's going to get the job done. But I just think you guys are going to spend some time around him and get to know him and his humility and his intelligence. I think the people, you know, in the city are going to fall in love with him.
On the recruiting trail in 2020, what did you see in the young man at Gonzaga High School in Washington, D.C.?
Well, he was kind of a raw football player at that time. He wasn't highly recruited. He ended up being, you know, a fairly highly recruited player by the end of the process in terms of rankings and things like that, but he wasn't really at the time when we first started recruiting him. He was really a basketball player that had just started playing football the last couple of years. Being in New York, you know better than me, there's a ton of 6'4" basketball players that should be playing football. And Olu made the switch and just really kind of flourished. Once he arrived on our campus, really flourished. He's one of these guys, he trusted the process. He trusted the coaches. He was super coachable. He was going to do whatever he had to do to grow and get better and be an impactful player in our program, and just got better every single day and every single year. Parents were very involved in the process, not from a negative standpoint. I don't want that to come off the wrong way, just very supportive of us as coaches as well as their son.
Can you speak to his mindset and his progress during those first 2 years where he was a red shirt, and then the following year he got some snaps as a reserve and also playing special teams?
Well, I think he was also, you got to remember too, he was also behind the guy who's starting left tackle for the Green Bay Packers now. So it's not like, you know, he was behind somebody that obviously wasn't also an impressive player, and that's Rasheed Wallace. But just, again, a guy that just punches the clock and has just gotten better and better and better in really every area. Football IQ, fundamentals, and technique. I think the thing you guys are going to find with him is his play strength, especially in pass protection. He has the ability where maybe a guy gets on his edge and he's able to overcome bad positions and get back into powerful, dominant positions at the end. I think that's where his strength is. I think in the run game, I think is an area where I think he can take the next step. He was a dominant player for us, but I still think there's room for growth there. I just think you guys are going to absolutely love him. I know, talking to the coaches and the GM, they're fired up about him as well.
What were those conversations like for you guys following the 2022 season when the NFL Draft Advisory Board said, hey, Olu, if you come out, you could be a first-round pick?
Well, I sat down with his family. I'm probably different than a lot of college coaches. I actually advised Olu and his mom and dad that he should leave, and kind of went through all the presentation, all the evaluations that I had. And Olu's mom took her hand and put it across my chest and said, thank you very much, Coach Franklin. We appreciate your recommendations, but Olu always planned on being in college for 4 years. He has not graduated yet. He's not leaving without his degree. And we appreciate all this information. It's really valuable information, but Olu's coming back. And I said, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And then we just got to work. And then it was kind of, the pressure really had switched to me at that point, because I had to put Olu in a position where he could get better, continue to grow. So now go from being a first round pick to a top 15 pick, graduate, and also keep him healthy. So what is that fine line of how much work he needed to get? He got no live reps in spring ball. He got no live reps in training camp. He was at a different point in his career. So we came up with a plan that Olu was very comfortable with, and so was our coaching staff. And it really worked out in everybody's best interest, which is really what you're trying to create, right? A win-win situation. This is a win for Olu and his family, but it's also a win for Penn State.
Can you talk about how he improved as a player last season? And also another element to this I think is very important is he talked about embracing maybe a different mindset as far as being more of a leader.
Yeah, I would say the leadership is the thing that probably stood out the most. Being more comfortable to have challenging conversations with his teammates, holding people accountable. But I also think when you're a guy like Olu who does everything right and people see that, they're open to hearing, that from their teammate when they know this guy, does everything right and has for 4 years. I think the other thing is for me at the major college level, or whether it's in the NFL, it's all about consistency, right? Whether you're a first round draft choice, a top 15 pick, or whether you're a second round draft choice, all those guys have first round potential, but who are the guys that can do it game in and game out, quarter in and quarter out, and doesn't matter who the opponent is. And that's where I think Olu continued to take a step. He just was putting top 15 film together game after game, rep after rep. And then obviously, being able to go against guys like Chop Robinson and Adisa Isaac at practice every single day, that iron sharpens iron, I think is a really important thing as well. And I think the NFL scouts coming to practice and being able to watch those guys go against each other in one-on-ones, and then for us to send the film as well. It's about consistency, and that's who Olu is from the day he stepped on our campus.
What were those matchups like that you had a chance to watch every day? Because Olu, first time he walks in the building here, he says, under Coach Franklin, everything was about competition. You just mentioned Chop and Adisa. What was it like, those guys going after each other?
Well, I don't think it's just for Olu and Chop, and that's obviously important in their development, but it's also important for our whole team to watch. Here's two of the best two players in college football at their positions, and they are going at each other. They are going at each other, and everybody's watching, all eyes on them, and that's how we start practice every single day. But I think, those types of things are important for Olu and Chop, but it was just as important for our entire team to see our best players go at each other every single day. And then what was really cool is after practice, you'd see him talking like, hey, you got me here. How did that happen? Hey, I got you here. This was the tip, or this was some of the things I was reading in your pre-snap alignment, or whatever it may be. So it was really cool to watch those guys be supportive of one another as well.
You've mentioned Olu's family multiple times. Can you speak to his character and the influences they've had on him as far as his approach and everything he does?
Yeah, just mom, dad, sister, all very, very successful. Um, I think the values that he was raised with, again, there's not too many times you sit and have a conversation and the family tells you, hey, coach, all that money you're talking about is great in the first round, but Olu doesn't have his degree yet. And he's coming back and finishing it. Just, I would say they're about substance. I don't want that to come off being critical of guys that leave school early to get drafted in the first round. I get it, but I'm just saying they are a family that really is about substance, and not chasing shiny things. Consistency, substance, being able to have hard conversations with each other. Their parents. It's been my experience that this generation, some of these parents are their kids' friends, not really their parents. And these are two strong parents, a strong older sister, that you could tell there was a lot of love in the home, but there was also a lot of tough conversations and holding each other accountable. So when he got to Penn State and when he gets to your organization, it's not the first time he's been put in challenging, tough situations before, which is also why I think he'll thrive.
What was draft night like for you personally? And can you talk about your travels that some of us were able to follow there on social media?
Yeah, we were fortunate, right? We had two guys drafted in the first round out of the state of Maryland. One was in Waldorf, which is where Olu is, which is like southern PG County. And then we had about an hour drive to get to Chop's house. And I didn't know if we were going to make it. So literally, we're celebrating with Olu. I'm hugging him, telling him I love him. And then I got to go. We're like running out of the house, going 95 miles an hour on the Beltway, I think it was. And it's funny, the guys in the car with me, like, I hope we get there before Chop gets drafted. I'm like, I hope we don't. Like, I hope he gets drafted as soon as possible. That could be $6 million. What are we talking about? But it ended up working out really well, and it timed up great. I wish I could be there for all of our players. We had 8 players get drafted. I wish I could have been there for all of them, but those worked out. It's not too often you get 2 guys drafted in the first round from the same state within an hour from each other.
What do you think about the situation that Olu walks in here? I'm not asking you to analyze the depth chart, but just from afar, he's talked about, hey, Tyron Smith is a guy that I grew up studying as far as the film is concerned. And the Jets also brought in another veteran tackle here this offseason, reacquiring Morgan Moses in a trade with Baltimore.
Yeah, I can't speak on that. I don't study the NFL as closely as I would like. Obviously, we do for scheme and cut-ups and things like that. I was with Aaron. Me and Aaron were together in Green Bay. I think it was Aaron's rookie year. I was there for his first year in the NFL, so I know he's happy. So it should be a great situation, but I don't study it enough. I just know the type of player he is and the type of character he has, that those are guys that you can't have enough high production, low maintenance guys in your locker room. And that's what he is.
Speaking of the high production, can you speak to how unique it was as far as what he did in pass protection? Because if you look at the various sites, some people said 0 sacks given up throughout his college career. I don't know how you guys address that in the film room, or maybe 1. It depends who you talk to.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of people that do these studies, and I don't know completely how they do it because they don't know the rules of our protection and who's responsible for a D end or a blitzing outside linebacker coming off the edge or a corner and things like that. I don't have the stats the way we did it, but obviously when the number is 0 or 1, you feel pretty good about it either way.
And lastly, let's get out of here with this. Really appreciate your time. What do you think is ahead for Olu as far as his professional career is concerned?
Yeah, obviously there's so many variables that goes into a player's success. There's so many factors, especially when you're talking about the NFL. But I feel very confident. I feel very comfortable when you got a guy with his physical traits, God-given traits that he has, and you put those and you combine them with the character that he has, and those things are usually a winning combination for a long, successful career. And I also know, like, I'm very, very confident that he's always going to represent the Jets in the right light in the community, in interviews, and he's going to be the type of guy you want in your locker room. So when you take those traits and you combine them, that they're usually a winning recipe. And I couldn't be more confident about the young man. I'll be looking forward to talking to you in the future after you've gotten to know him better. And I'm hoping you're saying, hey, Coach, you were exactly right. This Olu guy is phenomenal.
Thanks so much, Coach. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thursday night, what was that experience like for you in Maryland, as far as the draft is concerned?
Yeah, it was amazing. Just to celebrate such a special night with the group of people who've been in my corner for the last 4 years, and for all of us to be gathered and for one special occasion. It meant the world. Like, obviously, it'd be nice to go to Detroit, walk across the stage, shake the commissioner's hand and everything, but I wouldn't be able to have everyone with me. So, again, to just have that opportunity, it was awesome.
But how did you decide who was going to be at your place? Because it was a huge crowd.
Yeah, it was a huge crowd. It was pretty simple. Just had a little conversation with my parents, just a list of people. Then obviously, I got people asking me like, "Yo, are you going to Detroit? Are you not?" Then I'm like, "No, I'm not." Then asking, "Hey, can we pull up?" I'm like, "Of course." Yeah.
So what about your teammates though? You had a lot of guys from Penn State.
Yeah, had a lot of guys there, and all the guys that were there, I'm like extremely tight with there. So, I wouldn't have wanted any differently, and I'm super appreciative that they're able to make that drive up, because that drive it's a pretty brutal drive. It's 4 hours and some change, and typically at that time of the day that they left, you're hit with a lot of traffic in that area. So for them to still make it out to last night, it meant the world to me.
What was the afternoon like the build up to the crescendo?
Yeah, so the days before, I was a little bit nervous, but I think honestly, like all of yesterday and the day before, I was just excited. I was really just excited to to start this new chapter. And when I got that call and I saw the New Jersey number, I could not believe it. I was like, no way, like this is actually happening. Like I'm gonna be a Jet. So.
But you made it clear you wanted to be a Jet. Now,
Yes.
A lot of guys after they're drafted say, that was the place I wanted to be. But you say it with such conviction.
Because it's true. Like, honestly, it is true. Out of all the top 30 visits and the formal visits I had at the Combine, the Jets were by far the best. And I had such great conversations with Mr. Douglas, Coach Sala, and Coach Carter. And for me, after the visit, I just knew that this was the place for me.
Did you tell your parents that after you left here?
Yeah, I did. But they're the only people I told.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what were the conversations like? Like, take us behind the scenes here.
I mean, it was pretty simple. It was just like, Mom, Dad, like, I really like this team, really like what they have going on here. Beautiful facilities, great people, great coaches, great staff, and it was just a very good vibe during my visit.
How many teams did you meet with in the pre-draft process?
In total,
as far as the visits are concerned?
Yeah, I met with 6 teams.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And where did you expect to go?
In all honesty, I was thinking somewhere in the teens. I don't look at mock drafts, but obviously all my friends do and family. So for a couple of weeks, people were telling me that I was probably going to go to the Saints. So I was just like, okay. I mean,
oh really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still fortunate to be to have this opportunity. So I'll go wherever. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that, in the bottom of my heart, I was like, dang, like no Jets. But
so when did the Jets call you draft night prior to? Does anybody call, like, as the picks start going on and say, hang on here?
Yeah. Sorry, what do you mean?
No,
Like,
no. So uh, when did you get the sense that, okay, we're coming up to the Jets
yeah.
and this could be real?
Yeah, so I think first when the Vikings traded, when they had the trade with the Vikings, I was like, okay, this something could happen, So I made sure I had my phone on my lap just to make sure I was just locked in and dialed in case something rang. Then when the phone rang, I was just like, oh my goodness, like it's happening.
So have you gone back and looked at the video as far as what's been posted on social media? And also, I don't want you just to tell us about who was in the room, but also can you talk about people very important to you, whether that be across the pond in London and then also in Nigeria as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of people staying up across the world to see it. I have family in Nigeria, I have family in London, and I wasn't aware of it, but my mom told me, they're all staying up waiting for me. So again, not only to have all the support in the room, but to know that family across the world stayed up for me and waited until they heard my name be called. I mean, there's not much more you can ask for than that.
What time was it in Nigeria? Do you know?
So I want to say Nigeria is either 6. It's between 5 to 7 hours ahead.
Okay.
So it was late.
So that's
or
quite
like
early.
quite early in the morning.
That's quite early in the morning.
Yeah.
Can you talk about you as far as your childhood is concerned and how much influence your parents had on you?
Of course.
As far as your upbringing in Maryland.
Yeah, of course. So with me, family-wise, it's me, my mom, dad, older sister. We're raised in Waldorf, Maryland, a small little town about 30 minutes from D.C. We're all Nigerian. My parents were born and raised in Nigeria. They moved here in the late 80s, got married in the late 90s, and had my sister and I in the early 2000s, and it's just been the four of us ever since. And growing up in that household, it was great. My parents made a lot of sacrifices growing up. They made sure that my sister and I had the most enjoyable childhood as possible. But while doing that, they also made sure that we grew up on the basis of love, respect, and discipline. And I really felt that the discipline aspect really helped carry me, this far into my life in terms of just taking care of business no matter what.
What did your dad tell you as far as, hey, if you are going to do something, what did your approach have to be?
Yeah, he would have his saying. It's a little foggy, but it was something along the lines of everything you do is worth doing well, and that's something that's really stuck with me all throughout my life, and I think that's why I put in so much effort into my schoolwork. I mean, with football, obviously I was putting in a lot of effort, but I'm having fun doing it because I love football. So it was never any stress to me, putting in extra time to do stuff for football. But with school, I think that's kind of what carried me, the fact that, I am a student athlete. I am in high school, I am in college. So, I gotta do my best to, get the best grades as possible.
Gonzaga High School in DC.
Yes, sir.
What was a routine day like for you as far as getting up in the morning? And then take me through what you were doing at school and when you'd finish.
Yeah, so it really just depends on the time of the year. So I'd say the most strenuous time of the year definitely was not during the season. I have fun during the season, but during the off season, it could get pretty. The schedule can get pretty intense just because we have early workouts in the morning, and we would have 7 a.m. workouts, which don't sound too bad, but when you factor in that I live 40 minutes away without traffic, and factoring that in, it got a little bit crazy at times. So having to wake up at like 5:15 a.m. Every day during the off season, just so we leave early enough to the point where we're not stuck in traffic, and to be able to get there for a 7 a.m. workout, have workouts, then really bust your tail trying to take a quick shower before first period. Go through a full day of classes, then right after you're doing even more workouts in the afternoon. But I mean, that's what high school football is all about. So, I mean, I wouldn't change a single thing about it.
But you were a bit different because you took some time during your day to study pro players. Like literally look at their film while you were in high school?
Yeah. I mean, I think that for me was more so just trying to learn the position more, just because I didn't grow up playing football. I grew up playing basketball. So during that time, I would just any free time I would have and I'm not hanging out with my friends, I would at the time like I'd just go on YouTube and just search up Tyron Smith highlights or like Cowboys like full games, just because I knew like Tyron was playing back then, and just watching his film, watching the way he moves, watching the way he maneuvers himself on the field. And for me, I mean, it was pretty entertaining, but I was also watching it to see if I could find any ways that I could get better.
You were a basketball player first, though.
Yes, sir.
And you were traveling all over the place playing AAU, right?
Yes, sir, AAU.
So when did that love change? Does basketball remain your first love, or once you got to the football field and you started embracing that contact, what?
If I'm being honest, I mean, I like basketball a lot, but I wouldn't say it was my first love. Football is for sure my first love, and that's a sport I've been passionate about since the day I started playing. With basketball, it was more so like I had fun playing the game. I did it to as an extracurricular outside of school and to keep myself busy and in shape. But football, by far the first love.
And you didn't start playing until freshman year of high school?
Yes, sir.
So
sir.
do you consider yourself right now as a guy with tremendous upside? Because a lot of players coming out of the draft, maybe they started playing flag football when they were 6 years old, where you started playing football where you're what, 13, 14?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think about it that as I have a tremendous upside, but I feel like that should be a mentality from any rookie. You're entering a completely different environment than college football, and you can only get better. So with me, I'm always going to have the same mentality every day. I'm going to do things that align with winning and improving myself day by day.
How did you get better at Penn State?
At Penn State, for me, it was just competing. It was all about competing, competing with myself, trying to outdo myself every day, and also trying to outdo my teammates. But we all had the same mentality of trying to outdo each other, because we all knew, our coach would always tell us, the more you compete with each other, the more you're gonna, improve each other's skills. And that was the same type of mentality that we had every single day, every single lift, every single practice.
All right. So speaking about competitions, how were those on-field practice battles between you and Chop Robinson, a fellow first-round pick?
There were wars.
Yeah?
It was a war. I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity to battle against not only Chop but Adisa Isaac, who's most likely going to be a second-round pick tonight. Just getting that opportunity to go against two of those guys every day. Honestly, I mean, I was fighting for my life, but honestly, I'm so glad I had that opportunity to go against them, because they definitely got me better. I got them better. Obviously everyone knows the term iron sharpens iron, and they truly made games a lot easier for me.
As far as the stats there at Penn State, you never gave up a sack?
I think it's between me not giving up any sacks or giving up one sack.
Okay.
Like if I did give up a sack, I don't think it was clean, but it's whatever that person thinks it is. So.
Well, we got to let you go. It's been a heck of a weekend.
Yes, sir.
Really want to express our congratulations to you and your family, and
Thank you.
welcome to the Jets.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here.